Hi, my name is Linda Carroll. This is my first attempt at making a video, so please bear with me. It's going to be a bit rough around the edges probably, but I want to be able to talk to you about domestic abuse. It's likely then, if you're watching this, I guess, that you have interest in this subject, sadly, that you've had direct experience of it, whether directly or indirectly. I want to properly engage with others about this absolutely abhorrent behaviour, isn't it? So likely you've already had direct experience of it as a sufferer, although perhaps you're a survivor like me. I hesitate to say the word victim. A lot of people use that, don't they? I really don't like that. I'm not comfortable with that. It's such a negative word. I feel sometimes it makes people sound and maybe even feel weak or defeated. None of us, in my experience, like to refer to ourselves as this, although it is such a commonly used word in these cases. Also, perhaps that you're actively still experiencing and going through a horrible relationship, and if this is the case, I'm so sorry that you are, as I know really all too well how it is, how it feels, and how horrific it is. It's just so confusing, isn't it? Frightening. Sorry, excuse me. Often with no end in sight. Whichever is the case, it is definitely awful. And ultimately soul destroying, slowly but surely. I plan to gradually post on here on as many aspects of domestic abuse as possible, taken from my own experience and also what I've learned along the way whilst still in the relationship and since. Today I want to talk about love bombing, something you've probably heard of, heard the word anyway. So when you first meet a narcissist, you'll likely have no idea that they are one. They'll come across as lovely, perhaps the best person you've ever met, made for you maybe, but certainly they are charming, friendly, warm, honest, so it seems, open, interested, funny, affectionate, keen, and available to you. Even at this beginning stage though, there may be warning signs, what are known as red flags. Some aspects of their behaviour, changes in their mood, often subtle, or there may be small shifts in their attitude or comments made. However, perhaps likely, if you're like me, certainly you may brush them aside, almost as insignificant during these early days as you want to believe the best in them. Whatever the situation is at the start, they don't come across as a bad person. They're quite the opposite, in fact. Contact and dates may be pretty frequent, maybe too much so, becoming almost constant, especially the contact or the messaging, texting, maybe phoning. Their expectations are excessively high almost straight away, developing into a relationship usually quite fast. It's common for them to be very attentive, giving gifts, perhaps quite lavish and even expensive ones, which might make you feel inadequate. I certainly did, unable to return the same sort of thing, whilst being told, no, it's fine, that they just want to spoil you. In my case, I just want to treat you. And you can make it up to them at a later date. Although chances are, you probably never can. It seems as though they're offering everything you could ever want in every way. There may be talk of being soulmates, that you're their soulmate. They've been looking and waiting for you for so long. They may well even start talking about a long-term future really quickly, which is pretty inappropriate, really. I found it's unrealistic, as you barely know one another yet. Now, this is what's known as love bombing. What seems as loving, caring gestures that can sweep you away, caught up in a romantic haze. We've all dreamed about that, haven't we? Amazed and overjoyed that you found the one. Feels too good to be true. And as the saying goes, at least in this case, it is. This behaviour is the first sign of emotional abuse. Just know that. As it's their first tactic to gain control over you, begin to make you feel reliant on them, really. But you will not recognise it, probably, at this early stage. And the fast pace that things are moving, it all may feel really difficult to establish healthy boundaries, ones that you're comfortable with, and even harder to maintain them, even if you should try to. It may feel quite overwhelming, the amount of attention and the extent of the affection. It did in my case, at least. You'll likely try to convince yourself otherwise, however, as it's very flattering. Feels lovely. But unlike the healthy relationship, there are usually indicators that there is trouble ahead. Before very long, but sometimes more, their behaviour begins to shift, becoming possessive. However, perhaps coming across as though they're just concerned, pointing out things that you do as thoughtless or hurtful, that they've noticed or felt and say that they're hurt by. Often this is accompanied by explanations from their past, of others that have hurt them, or relationships that hadn't worked. But they'll be placing the blame on the other side, on the other person, never admitting there was any fault on their part. Of course not. They are actually usually quite critical, sometimes subtly, sometimes even outright insulting to you, your life, friends, even your appearance and behaviour, which surely that should have been what attracted them in the first place to you. So it makes no sense. But that is the point. Their hidden meaning behind it all. This begins the process of them seeking sympathy and attention, hoovering you in by trying not to hurt them, adjusting your behaviour, even beginning, perhaps you might be changing parts of your life to accommodate their wishes, trying to make the relationship work. There may be added pressure to move forward faster than you may be comfortable with. In time, this will be all more and more frequent, happen with increasing intensity, slowly beginning to cause you to doubt and question yourself. Believing it must be your fault, that if things aren't working, or that maybe you don't feel as confident in the relationship as they seem to. These times can be upsetting, as it feels like this perfect bubble that you were in is at risk. They may say that they'll relieve you, or they may actually leave you, or not continue the relationship, as you're hurting them, upsetting them. It may lead to disagreements, even arguments, that spoil this newfound happiness that you had. Therefore, you're most likely to become compliant and apologetic in order to restore the former closeness. Even if you've become upset, maybe angry in defence of yourself, and say that you can't continue the relationship if this conflict continues. But they won't accept that, or leave it there, or nor entertain that things are at an end. They will seek a return to normal, the way it was before, as if nothing ever happened. Flipping the focus from you and your opinion to themselves again, and the fact that they want to be with you, that they need you. And I'm just trying to make the relationship better by pointing things out. If they've used hurtful words, left you, or gone on to ignore you, which they're really good at doing, it often results in their apologies and the return to the love bombing phase all over again. The behaviour that reels you back in so that they can get the relationship to continue. This is all so conflicting and confusing, really muddles your head. One minute things are lovely and full of attention and affection, and the next, sometimes in an instant, it can just be the opposite, with complaints, irritations, accusations. The truth behind it is, in fact, that it's their insecurity in relationships and likely in themselves. So they seek to secure your affection, and they'll be looking for reassurance constantly. It is really almost a way of buying your affection in return for your commitment to them. And honestly, it's totally exhausting. It's the beginning of emotional manipulation. It's the roller coaster of emotions and confusion, and you're already the victim, their victim, even if you don't realise it, and you likely won't, not at that stage. Already you may be, you begin to have feelings of low self-worth, doubting yourself, and be traumatised by it all, considering maybe some of what they've said, at least, it might actually be true. Is it? That's what you'll likely be thinking. I certainly did. You'll be emotionally scarred even now already. I experienced all of this at its most extreme, and it knocked me for six, honestly, very quickly, scarily so, I now realise. And although my family and close friends had already noticed changes in me, seeing behaviours that they didn't recognise, asking me what was going on and why. But I was very emotionally attached to him already by this stage. It left me reeling with confusion, hurt. I was questioning myself and all that I believed about myself, my life, my future, my value system, everything. Absolutely shocking, really, considering I was already by then a mother of 3 children. I was divorced, but I'd always been confident, still was, sure of myself and my value system, my boundaries and the tolerances that I had, or I thought, were well established, with a really good outlook on the future. What I wanted for not only my future, but that of my children as well. But somehow this person, and I won't call him a man because he doesn't measure up to the definition of one, had in a short space of time rocked me to my very core. Really had. I reflect on it now with absolute dismay and near disbelief that this could happen to me, as I believed I could never be a statistic or a victim. At this stage, at least, I thought that of, not me, be subjected to, abuse, that I'd met an abuser. But I blindly entered into this relationship with no real understanding of the true meaning and the complexities of the nature of a narcissist, their warped personalities. I so wish I had. I believe wholeheartedly now that everyone should know about it, to learn about it and understand, in order to help and support anyone that falls foul to one of these, and perhaps more so to avoid it, if it's yourself, but just know what you might be letting yourself in for and recognising the red flags early on. Keep yourselves safe. It seems to me that this is the only way that these perpetrators of abuse will be found out, held to account, hopefully. And that women and girls especially, as we are more likely to be at risk of abuse, being as it's almost always an issue of dominance, which is mostly often sought by men. However, I am well aware that there are female abusers too, albeit less often statistically, and therefore my main focus is, I guess, on women and girls. But I don't want to exclude the guys in this. The guys out there that are seeking answers, help and support too. Of course you are. If we all collectively can shine a light of awareness on this and so many other aspects of abuse, through education, conversation, information, and essentially aiding by supporting one another, then perhaps this subject will become less misunderstood, because it certainly is now, at the moment, even still. That can only be a good thing, and it is my goal to effect change, if I can, by playing my part in paying it forward. My knowledge and insight, also my hindsight, in an attempt to prevent pain and suffering in as many other people as possible. So if you found any of this helpful or informative, please give it a like and follow my Stop the Hurt channel and joining me on my mission to help others and also yourself to stop this abuse continuing. So take good care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.